Next topic that we're going to speak about is back on the game against Brentford. The question is, do you feel like that was our best performance under Ange Postecoglou? I'm actually going to go to Sim first on this one because this is his question, so I want to know what he thinks about this.
It was supposed to be the first topic, but we'll do it now. But yeah, is this the best performance under Ange? I think it's definitely up there. I think when you even look back to the first 10 games of last season, I think the level of chances we created in this one compared to those games, I reckon was probably even higher. I think the quality of chances was probably even better. I think the pressing of this game was probably better than we've seen. I think this was Maddison's best performance that we've seen him. I think Udogie was astounding. Obviously, Son created 7 big chances, which is, I think, the most that any player's created in a game for a long time, especially this season. So I do think it's right up there. I'm looking back to last season, and the only one that sticks out in my mind is when we beat Newcastle 4-1 at home in about December time, and that was a real dominant display, and we were 4-0 up, and we conceded a late goal late on, but we absolutely dominated them. We battered them on that day, and Brendan Johnson was at his best as well, and Son scored a goal, and he scored a late penalty, I think, but he was brilliant. He rinsed Trippier twice, didn't he? So I think that maybe that one, but I think this is definitely right up there with one of our best performances under Ange.
You've also got the Villa away performance last season, which was brilliant. You've also got the Burnley away at the start of last season as well, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. We were there. Look, I don't think it's our best performance under Ange. I do think those 3 performances are actually better. Is there any other performances that come to mind?
I reckon if you look at XG, this might be the highest. Like in terms of the quality of chances we were creating. We created so many openings in this one, and it might have been even more than some of the other ones, but maybe our finishing wasn't as good on this occasion as it was on those occasions. Obviously, the Villa game was 0-0 at half time, and then we routed them in the second half. Go on, Jacob.
I was just gonna ask. We were talking about players' best performances. To me, I felt like that was the best, at least 45 minutes I've seen from Brendan Johnson in a Tottenham shirt. I think Brendan Johnson had his best. Maybe I think he disappeared a little bit in moments in the second half, but overall, I can't think of a performance where I was more impressed with Brendan Johnson than versus Brentford. I don't know if that's because it was actually a little bit of a tougher finish that he actually finished this time, whereas most of his goals for me were kind of easier before that. I don't know, but does anyone else think that was the best Brendan Johnson performance, or was there one that I'm forgetting?
Well, I'm concerned
Newcastle,
about,
I reckon. That Newcastle game, he was brilliant, I remember.
Yeah, I don't think it was his best game.
The Villa game, the Villa away, he was brilliant as well.
What I'm concerned about is he does not have 90 minutes in him. He was finished in that game. You quite rightly pointed out, Jacob, that he wasn't so great in the second half. He needed to come off, and obviously he did. He was very, very tired. I just think at 23 years of age, your engine should be superb. I mean, what else have you got to do apart from get up in the morning, get fit, and play football? I don't want to see my players tiring. There were moments. Look, he took that goal superbly. It was a fantastic finish, no doubt about it. But there were 2 incidences in the second half where he broke through, and one of them he actually passed the ball to Flecken in the goal. It wasn't even a shot. So yeah, listen. It's little baby steps on the journey to improving, and I'm not going to knock him. I'm happy for him. 2 goals in 2 games, can't argue with that. For me, as far as performances go, I'm not going to get excited about beating a Brentford side who definitely had a lot of first teamers missing.
Come on, Johnny, get carried away, my friend. Get carried away.
Listen, Johnny. We are back.
I'm happy. Listen, I'm happy.
Don't sound it, mate. Come on.
Listen, I'm happy. But I'm going to Man United. I'm driving up to Man U. I just want to see the same on the weekend. I'm not saying I left the stadium delighted, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, I just need to see that against the top team. Ben, and Simeon, you've been churning out the stats of, before this victory of, we haven't beaten a top 10 team since December last year. I'm not making this stuff up, right? So, this is a welcome, very welcome victory for all of us. But we need to start seeing it against Man United, against Brighton, and against the top teams. And, you know, we talk about the best victory. Is the best victory the amount of goals you score, or is it against, you know, dominating or playing well against?
I think just best general performance that we've had under Ange.
You think that was?
No, I don't think that was.
No,
I think probably the Newcastle game is probably the best.
Well, statistically, it was the biggest gap between of XG we've had in any game.
What was the gap between Newcastle and Tottenham in the 4-0?
Newcastle had
beating Villa 4-0 was kind of nice.
4-0 away at Villa Park. I mean,
we had
that was pretty impressive.
Against Newcastle, we won when we won 4-1. It was XG was 3.8, and the XG against was 1.7. And this one, our XG was 3.5, and against was 0.7. So it was a bigger gap.
Yeah, listen. The only thing I would say was there was no Vissa. Their striker that they bought to replace Tony was injured. So look, they still had 6 shots on target. All I'm saying is we're all delighted they won. But we need to start seeing Spurs performing against the top 10 or the top 6. That's where we're measured. And
Brentford were top 10 before we beat them, by the way.
Yeah, they had a good start to the season.
And look, we can all talk here about performances and XG and XG that, XA and all these kind of stats. But the reality was this game wasn't put to bed until James Maddison scored within the last 10 minutes, right? This game against Villa, this game against Newcastle, these games were put to bed fairly early and we knew we were winning the game 100%. So for me, I much prefer that than seeing these games against Brentford.
I mean, you see the people behind me in the 80th minute, they were shouting, they were getting twitchy. You know, Brentford had a couple of chances. You know, let's not, take our head out the sand here and look at the reality. We didn't have as much possession. They had more possession than us. They only had 4 chances less than us on target. And bar 2 fantastic saves from Vicario, it could have been a different story. But we won. All I'm saying is, one swallow don't make a summer. We're going on to the Man United game. If we can perform like that against Man United, I'll come back and I'll say to you, fantastic. We are on the march. We have our Tottenham back. This is progression. Look, all we're saying is, right, we talk about a rebuild, and rebuilds take time. So with rebuilds, you see slow progression. What we've seen is an electric, Usain Bolt start, but we've seen regression. Since the Chelsea game, we have seen regression. I don't believe we've seen progression. So if this is the first green shoot of that progression, I welcome it with open arms. And I hope this is the start of a beautiful future with Ange Postecoglou, right? But, we're early days. The trouble is with his fan base, it's very difficult to be critical of a performance or an individual without them saying you hate this individual or you want Ange out. I don't want Ange out. Whilst I might criticise him often, I want him to succeed, because do we really want to go back to the beginning again and then have a manager come in and start saying, well, these aren't my players. These aren't the players I want. And then we're back to square one. We don't want that. We should all hope, even if we're not a believer in Ange right now, that he can somehow turn this round and make us winners. Personally, I don't care about the league position this season. If we can go on and we can win a trophy, hopefully the Europa League, that puts us in the Champions League, and we can put together all the memes that we see out there about us not winning anything and an empty trophy cabinet. I just want to see success.
So, Johnny, you taking 15th and a League Cup?
No, I said Europa League.
Oh, Europa League success.
Yeah. I'll take
15th in Europa League.
I'd take 15th in Europa League, yeah? Although it would be painful. Don't get me wrong. Listen, no one really
wants that. It would probably lead to a change of manager, I would assume.
Come on, Ben.
No, armpits. All I care about is armpits.
There's no way if we're 15th that
and survives.
Daniel is going to allow.
But we get Champions League football. Isn't that what Daniel wants?
He'll be on that phone. Hello, Thomas.
He won't see the final for 15th. I guarantee you, he won't see the final.
No, not a chance. He'll sack him.
That's a good point. It's as fun and hypothetical, but in reality, in practice.
Hello, Thomas. Get your Tuchel down here. Yeah, he'll be the next one.
No, because he'll bring Dyer back. I don't want Thomas Tuchel.
Dyer's on a Bosman at the end of the season, isn't he?
Listen, it's all good. It's all good. Listen, I just feel like I'm a bit affected from that. I think I still had a hangover from that 87 minutes, Ben and Simeon, of that Coventry game. It was so hard to watch. I mean, I felt embarrassed. I don't know about you guys. I came out of the stadium and I was talking to the Coventry fans walking along there, and I was putting my arm around them. I said, "Look, I'm really sorry. You got robbed by Man United. I'm not sure what was the bigger robbery, us or Man U. I think Man U probably, they said, but."
No,
I felt sorry for them.
It's not a robbery, if they left all their possessions out in a public square and I happened to come along and take them. That's not robbery.
Yeah,
they had their chances. They didn't finish. That's
jail.
their fault. No robbery, no luck. We beat them. They can hold that.
Their B
they can hold it 2 years in a row. I don't give a damn.
Jacob, that was their B team, mate. That was their B team. We couldn't find
a B team can hold it as well. I don't care who it is. They all wearing the same badge. They can all hold it.
I thought we were
for them.
Listen, Jacob,
enjoy yourself. Out of here.
After 40 minutes, I had to ask the guy next to me, "Sorry, are we playing Manchester City or are we playing Coventry?" Because we can't get
the amount of chances we had were like zero at that point. No, and I agree. I was like I said at the beginning of the show, 75, 77 minutes in. I was like, guess my next stream, I'm just going to paint my face like a clown and say I was wrong and I'm an idiot for believing in Ange. But you know what? All's well that ends well. And I'm going to say never in doubt. Ange knew better than me, even though it was a Timo Werner injury that led to Kulusevski coming on. We don't have to draw on that fact. We can just bypass that and say Ange knew best. And I will take that.
We got a couple of super chats to get through. Giorgio says, we still need one creative midfielder to push Maddison. Do you agree with that? Oh, we got Lucas Bergvall as well. Do you still think we need one more on top of that?
If we're going to be playing two now, then maybe. But
where does that leave players like Pape Matar within the squad if we are using?
Leaves them having to be better. That's where it leaves them. Either you be better or you're not going to play.
Listen, look,
and he hasn't been great.
No, listen, Lucas Bergvall is a fantastic talent. His peripheral vision is incredible. He's already... I watched him, I know it's QPR, pre-season at QPR. I was in the front row, which I hate doing because you can't see the play, but what you can see up front, so close, was he's already scanned the field. He knows when that ball's coming, he knows exactly where he's playing that pass. And there aren't many players like him. He's got a left foot, he's got a right foot, he's got great upper body strength, he's got great vision. And I'm really, really, really hopeful that this guy is going to be a serious player for Spurs. Whether or not he'll get minutes under Ange is questionable because he's not even trusting him in games. But we know one thing: James Maddison always gets injured, and we need a backup. We got rid of Gio, okay, fair enough, but we need someone that can come in and influence the game. I see we got with Angel Gomez, but I listen. I think we do. I think we need a backup goalkeeper. I can't see the tree in goal.
We're going to get on to the goalkeeper. Don't you worry about that, Johnny. That is the last topic of the day.
Oh, okay. Sorry.